This represents just a small sample of the evidence for biblical creation. As this channel proceeds, more and more examples will be made available. The problem is that the people who claim that there is no evidence simply reject the evidence that exists. They do so in part because those whom they see as experts do not accept it, and they're convinced that those experts are correct and also that they are objective. They often claim that if the evidence were there, it would be accepted. The problem is that the way these so-called experts handle evidence presented contrary to their standard views. They react in a way that shows a lack of objectivity. Those who claim that there is no evidence for biblical creation do so for three main reasons. The first is that they're just parroting what they were told by others, such as teachers and other people who they think know better. The second is that they're convinced that the evidence must support the Big Bang evolutionary story, because their objective teachers would see the evidence for creation if it were actually there. The final reason is that they simply do not want to see it. The final group is those for whom no evidence would suffice. They could be presented with a human skeleton, actually in the jaws of a T-Rex, and it would not convince them that humans and dinosaurs live together. In other words, there is abundant evidence for biblical creation, but it cannot be seen as such by someone who is looking at the evidence through the lens of atheistic naturalistic materialism. The same philosophical presupposition makes it impossible to see evidence for the Genesis flood. Meanwhile, it forces them to accept concepts such as abiogenesis, universal common descent evolution, despite their mathematical and thermodynamic problems. It forces them to extrapolate small changes into allowing changes that go against the effects of random processes on information and the assembly of parts into a working system. Ultimately, the answer to the question, is there evidence for biblical creation, is yes. The problem is there are those who reject that possibility before they have a look at the evidence. These people look at the evidence exclusively through the lens of atheistic naturalistic materialism, making it impossible for these people to see any evidence for biblical creation, no matter how strong it may be.